Good morning, beautiful souls. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. It's week 47. Week 47 of the Woodland Chronicles. So, barring Meditation Monday, I've done this 47 times. Apart from the occasions, I think there's been 2 or 3 occasions that my brother in the light, David Essery, has very kindly taken over and done my update for me because I've needed to either rest or I've been doing something like resting. That's usually it, isn't it? So I want to talk a little bit about the things that we don't usually want to talk about this morning, and I want to have a look at basically I want to talk a little bit about polarity. We're kissing it goodbye in the not too distant future. I've been speaking regularly in my live classes and the online classes how when we move into the 5th dimension, the lessons of polarity, the school of polarity that we are engaged with continuously, there seems to be this incredible locking of horns at the moment, and that's coming from the previous owners of energy and matrix space, who are attempting to prevent the ascension process from happening in its entirety. Of course, they know very sensibly that there's no way of stopping it altogether. That would just be a universal impossibility. But the efforts we are seeing around the world at the moment are most definitely to divert as many people as possible and hold them in a 3rd dimensional frequency for as long as possible. And this is a group of souls that have been running their show. I'll say their show because it's not our show anymore. We were participating in it once upon a time. Now, I don't usually kind of, touch on too deeply on things like this, but we are going to see and are seeing at the moment a very prominent effort from what we would regard as the dark to completely throw everybody off course. It's for those of you who've kind of got like even a minimalistic kind knowledge of American history, you'll have heard of Custer's Last Stand, which was this kind of this last battle against the Native American Indians that ended terribly for Colonel Custer and his band of soldiers. Well, this is very much what we are witnessing in real time now. It can only be described as a last stand because there's no ability to stand further from this point onwards. So they are going to be attempting to hold or hinder the ascension process, the expansion of human consciousness and freedom of energy with every single effort and trick in the box that they can possibly manifest. And a lot of this has all been put in place some time ago in order to occur at this point in time. And other plans and activities and things that are going on are very much happening in the moment because previous ones have failed. So who are these people? Okay, I want to kind of address who they actually are, because we talk about the baddies, the matrix, the light and the dark, and the good and the bad, and there's you get it in the movies, and there's always a villain and there's always a hero. You've only got to look at the Star Wars series, and it's amazing how true to what we are experiencing these storylines actually are. Or Lord of the Rings, the gates of Mordor have opened, here they all come. Well, that's very similar to the energy flow that we are experiencing at the moment. So, you know, when we view it like that, do we have reason to be scared? Is the reason to kind of batten down the hatches and start kind of, you know, like gathering berries and our loved ones close to us? And in my view of it is like, absolutely not. No. What we are required to do is simply do what we do best, which is create positively and hold the light, hold the lines of light. What we are being asked or expected or kind of almost cajoled into doing is being afraid, being prepared, being separated, living in a state of conscious anxiety and fear for the hammer to fall because it's coming, kind of thing. We need to be aware and we need to be prepared for all of these occurrences as they've been going on now. I mean, let's face it, it's not been a quiet 3 years, has it? We knew something was coming in 2019 because we've prepared. We prepared ourselves, we prepared the light, we prepared our land, we began to clear our karma, we had our hearts opened at a 5th dimensional frequency. The navel chakra, the Atlantean chakra of oneness, begun to beam out its coded signals into the 5th dimensional matrix to instigate and create change in February 2020, which is exactly weeks before the entire world began to shut down and go into a state of, you know, just utter upside downness, when the whole kind of March 2020 malarkey took place. And like, I've been doing videos since that point. So if you've only just kind of got on board and joined me, yeah, if you want to hear what I was saying about it back then, when we're all kind of quite quizzical about what was occurring and wondering what's going on, I began to break it down and analyse it from that point onwards. And it's become a weekly, I'm not going to say habit, but hobby, something that I love doing, that not only does it assist me to understand and analyse very, very fine, to a very, very fine point, the energy that's coming in, but also the occurrences of the world. It also helps me and you to piece together why, when, where all of this is occurring. And despite the intensity of it all, I have seen it working utterly and completely, almost flawlessly, to the plan that the Intergalactic Council have had in place since the beginning to assist with the global wake-up. So again, going back to the question that I was kind of generally asking just a minute ago, who are these souls? You know, who is it who is puppeteering in the background? It's not the people that we see on the TV, the talking heads, the supposed government organisations. That are souls in the background, supported by a huge amount of wealth and connections throughout all of the media and all of the other industries, including food and medicine, who have been pulling the strings since the fall of Atlantis. Now, they became known to me, and some of you might be familiar with this name. They became known to me about a decade ago, or before then, as the Sons of Belial. And that's what they were known as during the Atlantean times. They were, from my memories, a group of souls who originally started working for the light, probably as magi, who split off when the various councils and the groups and the priests and priestesses of Atlantis began to disagree with each other towards the fall. And from my memories, they made their own council and they began to make decisions of power that were ultimately influencing the outcome and karmic trajectory of millions of Atlanteans who were sharing the continent at the time. And ultimately, the decision was finally made in the room around the table that created the fall of Atlantis. But I saw, as I've said previously in another video, I witnessed from an Akashic perspective their conversation, And it was not done. The decisions that ultimately created the fall were not initially done with bad-hearted intention. They were done simply because of the multitude of confusing options that were available and what was best for them at that particular time. Ultimately, what was best for them as a group and maybe their closest was not good for the overall. And ultimately, everything fell. It was destined to fall. Atlantis could not have sustained itself at that frequency with the technology that they had. It had to move into a higher state of frequency in order for Earth to continue to learn at a third dimensional frequency. And that we did. Okay, we all agreed to take that 10,000 years that we've just experienced right at the very, very bottom level of the third dimension, with these souls in place around the world doing what they've been doing. So the sons of Belial, it's, again, the name says it all, masculine, and the souls were predominantly masculine and were functioning from the ego. So the ego is what has steered everything occurring on this planet for 10,000 years, and their time is up. Okay, if we're wondering about how we're going to cope with the latest kind of outbursts, the conflict that's occurring, you'll be noticing a huge increase in conflict. Okay, we've had news reports coming from the British Isles. We've got occurrences going, I don't need to mention where they're occurring around the world, because wherever you live, whatever nation you live in, whatever country you live in, you will know somewhere will be on your radar specifically where something is going down. That is the nature of the game at the moment. The idea behind creating conflict, creating fear, creating a them and creating an us to make other humans our enemies, people with different religions, people with different ideas, people with different backgrounds. It's always been the weapon of choice for the third dimension and those that have ruled it, to keep everybody divided, to have different borders, different flags, different religions, completely different ideologies on everything and how it should be done. And if it's not done the same way, then this other group of people are your enemies. So ultimately, when we move from where we were into the fifth dimension, all of those things are dissolved. So imagine a world in the future where we aren't conflicting with each other over what we believe in, whether it be political, be it educational, be it our views on medicine and how to heal each other. We all can live cooperatively wherever we are in the world with our own ideas, because on a functional level of fifth dimensional frequency, in some way or another, they will all tie in with each other anyway. We will all have our own different ideas on how to live our personal lives, but we will not be at war with other human beings in order to sustain them. This is the ultimate kind of goal of the fifth dimensional frequencies, the heart-centeredness, to allow us to all live within unity. So once you've scrapped the idea of conflict, of war, of politicians making lots of money out of this and all of the other things, you are ultimately rendering the setup that the sons of Belial put in place completely redundant. And that is why they are fighting so hard at this moment in time to sustain it. So the reason why I'm explaining this today is to assist all of us to understand what is going on around the world. And these people, the ones that I am speaking of, the ones in the background, the ones that you never really ever see but you know are actually there, because that is what the last 3 years has revealed to us. They have never passed over to face the board of karma. They've never left physical in order to stand before the board of karma and actually be told, okay, well, you've got some paying back to do now. So a little while ago, a clarion call went out, and it was they were ordered to return. Okay, hence further degrees of panic, instigating situations into place that are going to kind of maybe ensure and sustain their survival. But what we are witnessing is the pulling down of the walls of the castle. The kind of the stronghold has been completely breached, and they are basically locking themselves in the room furthest away and hoping that they won't be found. So what happens when they're found? Okay, so what happens ultimately when these beings who were originally souls of the light are brought before the karmic table? Because I've wondered this, and there's obviously a little part of me, the human part of me, that thinks they should be facing the karmic table for their consequences. But I had a conversation with Yeshua with Yeshua a while back, and he said, well, they're actors. Okay, they've played a role, and they've played a role to perfection. And because of the situations in the third dimension that have continuously perpetuated themselves over and over again, they've rolled themselves into a karmic corner that is they cannot retreat from, they cannot move out on. They can only eventually just say enough and stand before the karmic board and say, right, okay, we're done now, and hand the keys back over. And it's at that point that all of the darkness on this planet goes into a state of alchemical release, and we're approaching that at the moment. What we're doing is we're going through all of, it's almost like the deepest, darkest recesses of the Akash that, you know, have never been touched before. They're all being hosed out, and the light is pouring in on all of the souls that have been hidden there, and all of the energies that have been hidden there are all coming to the surface to be alchemized. But in real time, we experience this, we pick it up within our fields, we see the effects that this has on the people that have been attached to it in some way or another. And another thing that we are witnessing that is going to be more intense between now and the December solstice is the increase in agitation in souls that are still tuned into 3D and, for want of better words, insisting on their unconsciousness, because the water on the hob is beginning to boil. Okay, so it's been boiling for 11 years now, since the cosmic moment, the 21st of December 2012. And I always use this analogy because eventually, when you apply heat to water, random liquid that I'm picking, when you boil water, eventually it has to boil. Okay, at some point it will reach that optimum temperature where it is boiling. So it's been on simmer. Only over the last 5 or 6 years ago, the heat has been going up a little bit more and a little bit more, and now it's boiling. Okay, so this effect is very visible in our brothers and sisters that we're sharing space with around this world. They're starting to get to the point where remaining asleep or holding on to those 3D blueprints and those conscious patterns and is becoming unsustainable. So with all of this instability and unsustainability, we are going to be seeing almost an explosion of activity, of third dimensional activity, as it all comes to a head. And we're seeing it. It's not something that I'm talking about might happen next weekend or maybe sometime in the new year. We're watching it in real time now. So what do we do? Okay, now we know where we are and what we're doing. What do we do about this? And my guidance, as ever, is to hold the light as strongly as possible. You know, if you were doing it previously, time to do it even more now. Okay, you switch off switch off the fear box, okay? No more fear box. Don't listen to what it's telling you. Don't listen to what's coming out of the media channels about who's bad, who's good, all the rest of it. Our job is to hold the light. Our job is to hold the frequency as clear as possible, so all of this 3D stuff can alchemize itself, because we've got that specific role. We are here to embody our master selves, okay? We are the next phase. And those around us that haven't woken up, they are the next phase also, but they still have to step through the gateways that we all step through in however long a time it was since we woke up. For some of us, it's quite recent. For others, it's, you know, we've been kind of staggering around through this ascension process for some considerable period of time. So there it is. I've touched on the subject today of the sons of Belial. Okay, now they are the ones that have always been behind the scenes, but they've had their marching orders. Okay, and that must have been something that they've been expecting and preparing for thousands of years, hoping that it wouldn't occur, hoping that they'd be able to sustain that glorious matrix that has been built up so efficiently around people, harvesting and running itself on our focus and our intention. And now we're realizing and remembering that we don't need to be plugged into that. We're super duper mega high frequency masters of light, having incarnated from all other aspects of the universe. The game is up. So my guidance is to hold the light, okay? Higher, brighter, stronger than we've ever done before, and regard these souls as what they actually are, with love as actors, and understand that we don't need to be pressing for justice. That process is already occurring around us as the frequency rises. Our job is very specific. Focus on creating the most beautiful environment for us to live in, and keep on doing it regardless of what all of the distractions around us are trying to get us to do. So Friday update over and done with. I'm going to go and get warm and have a cup of coffee. Sending you all so much love, and I will see you on the 30th of November. I've got a workshop coming up, just me. Can be working on how we hold and sustain our light, and I've got some special guests working with me that night, and it's going to be good fun, so come and join me. Sending you all so much love. Bye for now.